Hello, good afternoon, Lagos. This is another edition of the Education Dialogue brought to you by Edugist, proudly sponsored by Skill Integrated Services. Education Dialogue is a 30 minutes radio show every week Thursday where we discuss critical issues in education. But today is something very special. And so, Lagos, take note that I will not be taking any call because there will be no time for call. Today, we are starting the State of Education series where we are discussing and looking into the development challenges, processes, and of course, the future forecast in education of individual state. And so, today, we are bringing you Ogun State, a gateway state, to discuss all that has been happening under a very eminent educator. We will take a quick break, Lagos, and when we come back, you will meet my guest.
Hello Lagos. Join us every Thursday right here on Inspiration 92.3 FM from 3:30 to 4 p.m. for Education Dialogue by Edugist. On Education Dialogue, we bring together policymakers, education leaders, and parents to discuss issues, explore solutions, and drive positive change. With Edugist, education has a voice.
In case you're just joining the show, this is the Education Dialogue on Inspiration 92.3 FM. And like I said today, we are looking at the state of education in Ogun State. My guest is Professor Abayomi Arigbabu, the Commissioner of Education, Science and Technology in Ogun State. His CV is a very robust one. He's put in over 3 decades in education, over 30 years. But I'll give you some highlight, four of them. He holds a PhD in mathematics education from the University of South Africa and over 30 years in education. As the Commissioner of Education, the 21st Commissioner of Education in Ogun State, he launched the Ogun State Education Revitalization Agenda, leading critical digital and strategic improvement in education. He was the first home vice chancellor of Nigeria's premier University of Education, that is the Taisulari University of Education, the got status in 2005, where he led advancement in digital learning and administration. Last but not the least, he has extensive experience with international educational bodies and has collaborated with institutions across Africa, Europe, and the United States of America. Honorable Commissioner of Education, Prof, welcome to Education Dialogue.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
We are happy to have you. Prof, we'll be looking at education in your state under your leadership from four critical areas. So, general performance and achievements, challenges and solutions, policies and funding, technology and innovation, partnerships, and of course, the future forecast. So, my first question would be for us to try to unpack it. In some states, you have the Ministry of Education separate, and then you have the Ministry of Science and Tech. But in Ogun State, you have a unique model: science, education, and technology put together. How has this marriage been working for you over the years?
Well, thank you very much. Let me welcome you once again to the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology in Ogun State. Well, like you said, it looks like a three-in-one ministry, or if you like, you can say two-in-one. But one thing is very important. You see that technology, you can hardly separate it from anything, any woman endeavor. Even those who do not know about that now know better. At least post-COVID, everybody knows now the importance of technology in everything. So there are states where you have education as a ministry separate, and then you have science and technology as separate. In even some states, you have education and youth development. You have various models, and I think states look at what works better for them. But for us, for a while, it has been education, science, and technology, and because we also want our learners, our students, to also be um, introduced to technology early enough. So when we have a ministry that has education and science and technology along with it, it's not a matter of now maybe dissipating energy into different ways. We can actually handle this together. But of course, I should let you know that um, part of the aspect of technology um, is actually being handled by what we call the Ogun Tech Hub. The Tech Hub, on your way here, you will see the
Yes, we
Tech Hub.
saw it.
Yes, so we work hand in glove with the Tech Hub to do a lot of things. And for us, we think you need to actually catch them young. And so to introduce technology into the schools, we don't have to, a separate ministry doesn't have to now struggle to get into the schools to be able to introduce technology into schools. That is on one hand. On the other hand, talking about technology standing alone, even in the ministry as it is, we have a separate department, that is the Department of Science and Tech, so that one looks at everything that has to do with science and technology. So it's one of the major departments that we have, headed by a director, and that director works very well with the ICT department because we also have the ICT department in the ministry. So we are able to coordinate all this together, coordinating education as a sector, as a program, and coordinating science and technological development in the schools and outside the school, and working collaboratively with other agencies of government.
Thank you, Prof,
Yeah.
for taking us through that. But let's understand the structure within the state, so primary, secondary, and the tertiary level of education.
Yes. In Nigeria, the system of education is the 634 system, and education is on the concurrent legislative list, which means while the federal legislation on education, state also has some level of legislation. So there is sort of synergy. But there are some aspects of it for the sake of uniformity. And when you talk of the curriculum, we all run the same curriculum. We have a national curriculum that we run. So, of course, the system of education is the same. In other words, we don't have a state that will say, okay, our own is not 634, maybe our own is 6554 or something like that. No, we all run. So, for in those areas, the federal government actually um, dictates what the direction should be, and all states will key into that. Then you can then have some peculiarities in states which are actually geared towards enhancing whatever is being maybe put in place by the federal government. So, just as in other states, we have the first 6 years, which is for primary, and then we have, but though we have pre-primary, because in those days, pre-primary, which we call the nursery and kindergarten, that is the early days, early years. These days we call them ECCD, that is early childhood education
Education
and
and
development.
development.
So it was basically left in the hands of private people in those days. So probably when we were very young, government was not really involved in what happens at the ECCD level. So, but realizing the fact that the foundation of a building, if it is not well laid, it has effect on the whole building. So, government got involved, organized and reorganized the ECCD, and then also um, put in place some structures to ensure some form of uniformity and order at that particular level. So, apart from the years at the ECCD level, then we have the first 6 years in primary school, and after that first six years, then you have the next 3 years in the junior secondary school, and then the last 3 years in the senior secondary school. Of course, the four that we have is that one is symbolic, talking about tertiary. But some programs are actually more than 4 years. But basically, most programs are 4 years in the university or maybe in some other tertiary institutions. So, of course, in the polytechnics, we have 2 years, 2 years for OND and 2 years for. But basically, the 4 years is used to indicate tertiary. So, the 634 system of education is what we also have in Ogun State, and we abide by it. And what we have done is to strengthen that. You know, some maybe about some few weeks or months ago, there was this controversy about age in school and so on and so forth. But basically, what that minister said was not really a new thing, but because over the years we have tried to sidetrack or to actually do some sort of trying to lay fast one by doing what is not the real thing to do. If a child enters, because the normal thing is for a child to enter primary school at the age of 6. So if you enter school at the age of 6 and you spend 6 years in primary school, then that will be 12. So by the time you now spend three years in junior school and senior school, you'll be 18 automatically. But parents will take their children to school before the age of 6, maybe age of 4, and they'll get to the primary school. They spend 5 years instead of 6 years. They send them to secondary school. So 5 years four, entering at 4, spending 5 years. The child will finish at 9 or 10, and then spend 6 years in the secondary school. So they will now graduate at 15 or 16. So that's why this controversy is coming. But if they come in at 6, definitely there will be no controversy. But thank God, it has always been there that most universities will not admit you into school if you are actually younger than 16. But I think that one still stands even with the new minister. So for us, we try to provide a situation whereby children actually go through this. We have, to some extent, used technology to do that now. Once you enter school, you spend your 6 years in primary school, spend your 6 years in secondary school, and then you graduate. So definitely, we won't even have this problem of age.
Thank you, Honorable Commissioner. I mean, this helps us to see the different stand. Talking about ECCD, Lagos, you know, the way we see it in early childhood education, over 90% of the adult brain is developed in the first 5 years. And so if we lost education at that stage, there's going to be a problem. And so it is said that you better cultivate the child because it is easier to do that than to repair the adult. Commissioner, I was wondering if you can give us numbers, the number of primary schools, secondary schools,
Yeah.
and tertiary that you have.
Yes. In Ogun State, we have 1,566 primary schools. That is public schools. Um, in secondary school, we have 517 secondary schools in Ogun State. Junior, senior, and combined schools altogether 517. That is government. So we have over 2,000 primary and secondary schools public. But the private schools, we have about over 7,000 primary and secondary. In some schools, they run both primary and secondary. Some schools are just primary. And so when you put the private schools together, you have over 7,000. So you see that we have almost 10,000 primary and secondary schools in Ogun State. And the number is growing every day. As I'm speaking now, some schools are being processed for approval. So don't forget that in almost all states of the federation, you probably have more unapproved schools or registered schools than approved ones. There are a number of them that are actually under it. So we continue to encourage them. So the strategy we're using is to introduce technology. And, probably when I talk about what we call the Ogun State Education Revitalization Agenda. So how we have used technology to solve a lot of problems. And in the case of school approvals, we have introduced technology such that all learners in Ogun State have unique identification numbers. That identification number is called the learner identification number. So, and all schools, all approved schools, public or private, they also have identification. They have codes, school codes. So these school codes are also part of the identification number. So when you give me a learner from the learner identification number, which we call LIN for short, I would know when that child entered the school, 2021, 2022, 2023, the first 4 digits that particular line. Then yes, I will also be able to say this child is actually from a private school or a public school. There is a code for that. I will also be able to tell you that this child is actually in this zone. In other words, which local government is the school located, and then we'll, of course, be able to say something about the school and then the number of that child in that school. Apart from that, we are now looking at a situation whereby we encourage the unapproved. They give them all sorts of name, unapproved, developing schools, illegal schools. They have all sorts of names, but schools that are yet to be captured. So we want to encourage them because the problem we're having now is that people give you all sorts of figures. Though I'm not worried about that, I just do my work. They tell you out of school children in Ogun State is this, is that. But some of these things look aberrational because when somebody says Ogun State has probably higher out of school children than maybe a state from the north, one will wonder. Ogun State started free education. I mean, why I mean, Western region was the first to start free
Yes.
education. So it will look funny to have a figure saying that you have more out of street children here. But there are so many things that has also come into play. The issue of migration. A lot of people come from the north into they want to come to Lagos. Almost everybody wants to go to Lagos. So now Lagos is a very small state. I mean, Ogun State is about 5 times the size of Lagos. I mean, Lagos is about 2,000 something per meters, whereas Ogun State is almost 60,000. So about 5 times, more than 5 times the size of Lagos. And though the population of Lagos is actually yes. So whereas when those people now try to stay in Lagos, because Lagos State has no other neighbor apart from Ogun State. But the other neighbor is the
So
Atlantic Ocean. So
you consider
yes, you are
it
going to the
everything.
Atlantic Ocean, and the only neighbor by land is Ogun State. So some of them, because they are not able to go to Lagos, they just stay, and that's why the border communities are actually very highly populated. You see people when you go towards for Norway and so on. So some people tell you they are living in Lagos. They are actually in Ogun State. A lot of people stay in Ogun State, but they say it's Lagos. So most of these people coming from other parts of the world, other parts of the state, particularly from the north, there is high migration for so many reasons. There is insecurity, more insecurity in the north. So people try to come to the south, and most of them the destination is supposed to be Lagos, but they end up also staying in Ogun State. So we have a large uh, population like that, and for us, we need to take care of those ones also, so that out of school um, children rate will not be high. So, and because of that, we are also putting in place now some mechanisms of trying to encourage these unregistered schools to get registered. Then we are also looking in the area of all these Islamic schools, Arabic and Islamic schools, so that we get, because when you say out of school, what do you really mean? What do you really
Yeah,
mean?
you need to
Because
define
schooling
that.
can come in many forms. So all these ones, when people get the right figures in. So for us in Ogun State now, we have the right figure, the actual figure of students that are in school because of the digital platform that we are using. So every student in school is known. If you mention any child in the Ogun State school, I will tell you that child. I will show you the profile of that child. I will give you the date of birth. I will give you the parents' information. I will mention any teacher. I will give you the phone number, everything. Mention any school. I will tell you everything about the school in terms of the number of students and infrastructure and so on and so forth. So that technology has actually helped us a lot in tackling that. So basically, like I said, almost 10,000 schools in Ogun State.
So tertiary.
At the tertiary level, we have belonging to government. We have nine tertiary institutions, six polytechnics, um, two universities, one college of education. Of course, for the for the private ones, the number one will probably be even. I mean, because maybe as I'm speaking to you now, another school is being registered by NUC or the MBT. You
MBT.
know, we have, but Ogun State has actually been um, mentioned as a state that has the highest number of tertiary institutions
Higher
in
grade
Nigeria,
is
public
five.
and private. Of course, that is also not far from the reason I gave earlier.
Yes.
Because of the population in Lagos, many people want to be in Lagos, but at times, because of the high rate of some other things, maybe taxes and so on, some people rather come to Ogun State, that is a little bit more friendly, and then they size those schools there, and people still see those places as part of Lagos, not knowing they are in Ogun State. Ojudu Abiodun is in Ogun State, and people live in Ojudu. Akute is in Ogun State. People live in Akute, they believe they are in Lagos, and so on and so forth like that. So those are some of the reasons. So Ogun State continue to be the host to the highest number of tertiary institutions in Ogun State. But as a state, we have nine, and that is unprecedented. I don't know of any state that has as much as that. I don't. Even Lagos State has three universities,
Yeah.
and possibly I think the polytechnic they had has even been converted to University of Science and Tech.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so yes, so they have three universities. They don't have College of Education again. So, so yes, so for us, we probably have the highest number of public tertiary institutions in Nigeria.
Thanks a lot, Prof. Lagos, in case you are just listening, the program is Education Dialogue on Inspiration 92.3 FM. And my guest is the Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Ogun State. And like we do on Education Dialogue, here you get the numbers. So now you know the number of primary schools in Ogun State, secondary as well as tertiary institution. Like I said, we can't take any call today.
Hello Lagos. Join us every Thursday right here on Inspiration 92.3 FM from 3:30 to 4 p.m. for Education Dialogue by Edugist. On Education Dialogue, we bring together policymakers, education leaders, and parents to discuss issues, explore solutions, and drive positive change. With Edugist, education has a voice.
Honorable Commissioner, we want to look at some innovative programs and policies that you have implemented over the years leading the saddle of the ministry.
Thank you very much. Let me start, and I actually have to put the credit where it should go. The governor of Ogun State, Prince Dr. Abayomi CON, when he came on board in 2019, was really not happy about the state of things, and he declared emergency in the education sector. So the emergency was not just declared by words of mouth; he actually went into action, and the first thing he did was to ensure rehabilitation of schools. That led to what is called the Yellow Roof Revolution. The Yellow Roof Revolution actually cut across all the sectors. So you see yellow roof buildings in the schools, you see in the hospitals, you see in housing, you see in so. In other words, it's just the signpost of this administration that all these structures are actually with yellow roofs. So for in the first 1 or 2 years, he did over 1,000 projects in our schools, rehabilitation, construction from the scratch, and so on and so forth. So, about the beginning of the second term, we also commenced another 1,000 of renovation, construction, and so on, including our special needs schools. The special needs schools were not left behind. We have 5 special needs schools in Ogun State, and our intention is to make them models. And we're happy that they are actually very good models that you can actually showcase to other states. Apart from the rehabilitation, reconstruction, and so on, I said the Ogun State education, we decided to look at it from what we call the revitalization agenda. We call it the Ogun State Education Revitalization Agenda. That Ogun State Education Revitalization, for short, we call it OGSERA, Ogun State Education Revitalization Agenda. It's actually built on 6 pillars. Briefly, one pillar is actually on curriculum. The other pillar is on management, and the other one, the third one is on technology and innovation. The fourth pillar is on funding, revenue and funding. The fifth pillar is on infrastructure, and the sixth pillar is on teachers and students' welfare. We actually try to put all the things we have to do in education under these six pillars, and a lot of things have been done under each of them. Of course, the technology I mentioned incidentally run across all the six pillars. So we have integrated technology into everything we are doing in the education sector. We have digitalized the entire process. Is it the writing of the basic education certificate examination, where we have introduced technology into it? Is it the marking of attendance in schools, tracking how teachers do their work, the report sheet of learners? We give them what we call the electronic dossier, e-dossier. So parents can access the result of their awards from anywhere in the world. They don't have to be in Nigeria. They can go online and check it. Teachers mark attendance of pupils online without necessarily having to use the paper register and so on. So, and if you remember, when COVID started and there was lockdown, Ogun State was probably one of the first states to respond through what we call the Ogun Digi class. The Digi class was a situation whereby we integrated technology into we use technology and telecommunication. What do I mean? Technology was used through virtual teaching, but most parents and most homes have no access to internet. Of course, there is also the problem of electricity. So for us, we from the control center, while the delivery is through technology, through virtual teaching, we projected it through the television station, the Ogun State television station, collaborated with them to actually uh, uh, provide access to this teaching in their various homes. The good thing about that is that Ogun State television station and the television has a very wide coverage, even beyond the state. People get it even as far as Benin Republic and some other states, Lagos and so. So our learners, right from the comfort of their homes, they were able to follow what was being taught right from the control center. So, and the good thing about it is that you don't need to even have, if there is no source of electricity, might be from the national grid. People can use small generators, which they call a better pass my neighbor, to power their television, and then of course for those who have solar, that's not a problem. So we were able to actually reach a lot of, and of course we leveraged on that further, and we had what we call the DIPA. The DIPA is a digital platform for education revitalization. So we have the DIPA hour. So 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock on weekends like that, we also give some diets to the students. We still do that also now. Now, apart from this, we introduced what we call the flagship school initiative. The flagship school initiative is such that we try to create models out of the existing schools. In other words, we didn't attempt to build model schools. The last administration did that, but we have to learn from it. They were not really able to do what they planned to do. So we said existing schools, some of them should be turned into models. So we actually selected 42 of those schools based on so many parameters. And then those schools now are the flagship schools in Ogun State, 42 of them. And the results is already showing. We are seeing the results. Learners in those schools are doing very well, and then we are seeing results in so many areas.
Honorable
Thank you.
Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abayomi, thank you for being guest on Education Dialogue. Lagos, when you listen to a man that is really and fully in charge, you will learn. We expect that we'll have another chance to speak more, but this is how far we can go on Education Dialogue for this week. The show returns same time next week, Thursday, 3:30 p.m. For more content about education, visit our website www.edugist.org. Follow us across social media or at Edugist. Use the hashtag Education Dialogue. Thanks again, Prof, for being a guest on the show. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much. You're welcome.